Hi everyone, welcome to John's Briefs here at C2 Tactical. Thanks to them for letting us use their conference room with Tim Forshey, the attorney extraordinaire and criminal defense attorney who I would call if I was in a self-defense incident here in town, in anywhere in the state of Arizona, which I was most of my time. I wouldn't call you if I was out of state.
Yes, you call me if you're out of state.
I could call you if I was out of state.
And then I can, more than likely, I can obtain what's called pro hoc vice admission status in that state. I'll get a lawyer there to sponsor me with that state bar and then give me a temporary license for that case only. That's probably highly likely, but
Can't guarantee
I don't
it.
think anybody can promise that. Yeah.
So anyways, the guy that I would call that if I was involved in a self-defense incident, because again, that's who I would trust, and trusting your attorney is important. We had some instances on the channel here. We had a video of a bunch of cops shooting a guy who said he had a knife.
They say he said he had a knife, right?
They say he said he had a knife. We don't have any audio of it. Link is in the description to it. And they shot that boy up like 14 different times. Didn't kill him.
It reminded me, I've never been to one. You may have because you've spent a lot of time in Latin countries and I haven't, but it reminded me of a bullfight.
Yeah.
It's just like, just keep stabbing the bull. It's bleeding out. Just keep stabbing it. Just keep chasing around. It was just like, oh my God, people. Really, seriously.
So what it really reminded me of, if you've ever been to the Midwest, is a goat rope.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
There's another term for that we use in the Midwest. Yes.
A goat rodeo, as it were. It was a goat rope,
Yeah.
and I want to talk about this idea with Tim that them saying he said he had a knife as justification for the use of deadly force. To win the fight after the fight, you need help. After a use of force, I trust Firearms Legal Protection to help me win the fight for the rest of my life. From their 24/7 attorney-answered hotline to coverage for the use of all legal tools, Firearms Legal Protection has you covered. Get a discount by signing up at the link below. Go watch the analysis. It is a goat rodeo. I would go so far as to call it a Taliban quinceañera. Okay? Which is the highest level of goat rope. Okay, it's as bad as it gets.
Wow. Yeah, I'm imagining that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, when the Taliban, when a goat comes of age and is ready to be presented to the community, they have a Taliban quinceañera.
I love it.
Yeah, this is really bad. Okay, so there's your joke. It's still okay to make fun of the Taliban, right? We
should be. They're not a protected subset.
They're not a protected group. Yeah, we can make fun of the Taliban.
If any of them are transgender, you better watch it though.
Well, okay, so I don't like making those kind of jokes, but but the Taliban we can make fun of.
Okay.
So this one here, cops get called. Dude is clearly having a mental crisis. Okay, so he's like hiding behind a bush or something. Mom has called him in. Having a mental crisis.
And wearing, like as I recall, only a pair of shorts, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a pair of shorts. Yeah. We know we got a problem. A bunch of dudes get out. They're armed. Okay, fine. They got guns put up, but then they get guns out, start putting guns at him. They say he said he had a knife. I'm going to trust that he did say he had a knife. Okay. They've got good space from him. He comes out, starts running their way. I think I can justify maybe the first shot.
Would you say the guy was standing off? I would say it was around 20 yards.
Something like that.
In that ballpark?
Yeah.
So, we've got the Thurler drill, we got the 21-foot drill. Well beyond that. Now, that's not definitive by any stretch, but a lot of people think it is. It's not. But, yeah, if a guy who's mentally ill, who says he has a knife, who I believe to have a knife, is threatening me from 20 yards away, I'm probably going to draw to a low ready.
Sure.
I'm not going to point it at him. And if he's charging me and I believe he has a knife and I can't retreat much, as I recall, there was a little bit of room to retreat. I think there was a van behind the cop, right? So his retreat was somewhat limited.
We had cars in the vicinity.
Maybe 5 or 8 yards behind him. So, and you don't want to run backwards when somebody's charging with a knife, running forwards. So yeah, I think he could probably justify the first officer shooting. Yeah, I agree with you. It's still not what I'd prefer, but I could sort of justify it.
But after that, I mean, I might be able on that first one. But after that, again, the guy's running. He clearly has then run by and run past the guy. And then again, look at his hands.
Yeah.
Is there a knife in his hands? So he might say, I'm a hydrogen bomb, and I'm going to explode and kill you all. But do you have any evidence that he is a hydrogen bomb? Right? No, you don't have any evidence of that. So just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's so. So
and you can see both of his hands, and he's wearing basically underwear. I don't see machete materializing anytime soon.
I don't see a machete. I don't see a knife. Now, again, that first rush, you might go, oh man, I didn't have time to validate in both hands. But after that, somebody's saying, hey, his hands are empty. His hands are empty. And it felt to me like they got tool fixated at that point. And well, we shot him once and he didn't go down. So as he comes around again, shoot him
it became a task at that point. Yeah, we got to put this guy down.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's not okay.
No.
And that's why those guys are facing charges, and they should face charges. So I think for us, Tim, tell me about this requirement that I have to actually have evidence that he was.
Well, I guess evidence is always one of those troubling words. You have to have a reasonable belief that he poses a lethal threat. If it's unreasonable for you to believe that he has a knife, then you can't use lethal force there, right? So I have to convince a jury that it was reasonable that I was in fear for my life because I reasonably believed he had a knife. You're right. As this went on, you could clearly see his hands, and he's running, and he's bleeding, and he's clearly out of his mind. How does he pose a lethal threat there? I mean, he's going to bleed on you at this point.
And so what makes it reasonable for me to believe that is that there's some evidence that backs my belief.
Right. Him shouting it and him charging me before I can get a good look at his hands. First shooter, first cop. That's why I say probably, maybe. But beyond that, this guy's almost clearly, I don't see how anybody could have thought he was armed at that point.
Yeah.
And again, he wasn't a particularly large guy. He's having a mental breakdown. He's wearing underwear and his bare feet, running around on a cobblestone street in Poland. I mean, how does he pose a threat? And, and a couple of the other things I noticed when I watched the video the first time, and I watched it the third time, is the muzzle discipline. I mean, it's a wonder one of those cops didn't shoot another cop because, oh my God. I mean, they're all aiming at like there's 3 cops right there, and there's guys aiming and I believe firing. So I'm just amazed a good guy didn't get shot. And the other thing is, why is only the supervisor able to have a taser?
Yeah.
I mean, why do you want the guy that's going to be there in 7 minutes to be the only guy with a taser? The first 7 minutes is where you're going to use a taser, for crying out loud. Well, it makes no sense.
I'm in this weird spot with a bunch of cars and stuff like that, and instead I'm going to stand there in open ground rather than standing maybe behind the tree or behind one of the cars.
Or get behind the car,
and talk to him from there. Yeah. Okay, so there's nobody else around here, so there's no imminent danger. Hey man, what's going on in your world? Can we talk to you? Can I send a hamburger and a Coke your way? You know what I mean? Like, I'm here to help you, whatever. Instead, I've got a knife. Okay, well, I'm going to pull a gun and stand here in the open and see what happens. Well, what do you think is going to happen eventually? You know what I mean? We're going to have a standoff, and we're going to have the OK Corral eventually. I don't like it, guys. And we've had other cases on the channel. We had one, this is several years ago now, in Las Vegas, of 2 guys breaking into a hookah shop, or not breaking in, coming into a hookah shop.
I remember that video.
No words exchanged, and a guy draws a gun and shoots one of them 7 times from about 18, 20 yards away. Excellent marksmanship. Yeah. 7 shots taken, 7 hits hit. Yeah. Turns out it was a 14-year-old kid who was unarmed, who was planning on stealing things.
Some tobacco products, wasn't it?
It was hookah.
Yeah, hookah.
Off the wall. Yeah. And his lawyer, an incredible lawyer, got it pled all the way down to improperly pointing a firearm.
Yeah.
But remember, if you watch that one, at his sentencing hearing, he blubbered like a baby, standing and talking to the judge and pleading guilty to improperly pointing a firearm, and said every night he can't sleep because he remembers and he wishes he hadn't shot that guy, that young kid. So again, why? Because he might have, and people in the comments would be like, well, he didn't know if he had a gun on him or not.
You could say that about any individual on the planet Earth.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he had a gun or not. So.
Well, even if you do know he has a gun, ability, okay, so if he has, does he have the knife or a gun? That's ability. Opportunity. Did he have the opportunity to do that? So is he in range to use it?
20 yards away running that way.
Yeah, and again, with a knife, no. With a gun, 20 yards, still in range, has opportunity.
Of course.
Manifested intent, right? Did he actually say, hey, wait a minute, did he showcase to you that he intended to do you harm with it? So I always tell folks, listen, I have ability and opportunity to do deadly harm to anybody that's in the room that I'm in because I carry a gun, so do you.
Yeah.
But I have no manifested intent to do that, so you can't use deadly force against me because I'm a good, sane, sober, moral, prudent person. So if I got 2 but not the 3rd, I have no justification. Well, in this case, does he actually have a knife? Or do I have a reason to believe, a real objective reason to believe he has a knife? No. So now, again, I think what you said, the first time, maybe I can say,
I don't like it.
He said he did, and so I can default believe he did, and I didn't have time to look at his hands as he charged me.
Yeah. The other thing that I think we need to, I don't know if this is the forum or not, but is that I think that the law enforcement, of course, now that we're cutting back funding, the training is just going down the toilet even worse than it was, and hiring practices are even laxer than they used to be.
Big time.
But what we need is we need law enforcement personnel to receive training on dealing with mentally ill people, and they don't get it. They get very little of it.
Yeah.
And you need to know how to spot it and how to react to it. And like you're saying, you want to lower the threat level, not increase the threat level.
Yeah.
So back off, make a larger perimeter, somebody that knows how to talk in a soothing voice. until the guys in the white coats show up, because you're just going to incite way worse violence handling it the way they traditionally do, what we see in this video.
Yeah, I can't tell you enough. If you're a law enforcement officer, contact Yavapai County in Arizona, and their crisis intervention team training is absolutely second to none. Bar none, incredible training. Neil and I went through it last year, and they are willing to give to any law enforcement agency in the nation a full template of exactly what they do and how they train. And it's a national level program that they use that you can put in your community. Their sheriff has done an incredible job of bringing together all the different agencies in the area. And hear me, that's the template to use. And we're not training our law enforcement officers to be crisis intervention trained. We need to, because otherwise guys get shot up like this.
And a large proportion of the people that you have to deal with are suffering these problems. So it shouldn't be a death penalty. You know, they've got a chemical imbalance. Let's get them fixed, you know.
Bingo. Good reminder at the end. And again, objective, reasonable evidence, friends. Reasonable belief is what's needed.
A reasonable man standard, right?
Thanks so much, Tim.
Always my pleasure.